Vanna is on the dash, and that means it is moving day. Now we are going to take a drive through these pretty mountains, so we're going to show you that for sure. And we're headed to a waterfall that is supposed to be right by the road, so I should be able to get to it.
So gets to go to the waterfall. Yep. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, and then guys, other than driving through these pretty mountains, we've got a dreaded task ahead of us. We have to, you want to tell them what we have to do, Curt?
Well, in Panama, they give you 90 days on your passport to stay here 90 days. But we only get 30 days on our temporary import pass for our vehicle. And we're coming up on that deadline. Actually, it's on Sunday. So we have to go back to David to renew our temporary import pass for 30 more days. Unfortunately, it's something you have to do every 30 days. So, yeah, today's a moving day, like Snow said.
All right, we have turned off the main road. We are 7 minutes from where we think the waterfalls are. And look at this tiny little narrow road. I mean, the lanes have to be, what, 6 feet? Oh, they've had to add a shoulder here. But we're getting up into the mountains and it is pretty, so let's show you that.
This is a cool little rock formation. It is on I-Overlander, but it's a little rock climbing wall right there. I'm not a wall rock climber, so I'll scamper around some little rocks, but I'm not climbing that wall, so you guys can relax. But we have a crazy bridge coming up here, so check that out. Alright guys, these are my favorite kind of waterfalls. This one's not super big, but it's one that Snow can make it to.
We're headed to David, like Curt said, to the Aduana office, which I'm going to say is kind of like maybe the DMV or the vehicle registration office back in the States. Take care of this paperwork. It's supposed to be easy, but we'll find out when we get there. So, off to the little city we go. So you guys may remember a few videos ago, we went to the coffee shop and we ordered a fancy cup of coffee. It's called the Geisha coffee. And it's won tons of international awards. One year it was, I don't know, like the best coffee in the world or at some competition or something. But it kind of put this area on the map. And as we're driving around these waterfalls up here on this pretty little loop where we're making this drive through the mountains, we are in Geisha coffee country. So you're seeing it all along the side of the road. So we'll try to show you a little bit of it, but just wanted to make sure you knew that this is where they grow the fancy and expensive coffee. We went down into the little valley. We climbed out of the little valley, and it was a little bit steep, but nothing really to write home about. Now we're going back down, and it is pretty steep right here. And we just passed a lady walking on the side of the road, and she was in the traditional dress. Up here in this area of Panama, there are indigenous folks that live up here, and they work on these farms, and yeah, you'll always recognize them from the traditional dress that the women wear. But it's still steep going down. Hopefully this doesn't last too long.
So kind of one of the stories that's developed throughout Central America, and definitely here, is the indigenous people often are the ones who work in the fields, and they only make $9 to $15 a day. That's a working wage for 8 to 10 hour days. They generally work about 6 to 7 days a week, no vacations, no pensions. So it's a pretty hard life for them, and it's a big challenge in Central America, and definitely we see it in Panama.
Good morning, everybody. Yesterday, after our little waterfall adventure, we drove the van back to David, which is a town here in northern Panama, because we've got some errands we have to run today, some pretty important ones. And the first one has to do with keeping our van legally here in Panama. When you come into Panama, they will give you 90 days as a person on your passport, right, Curt?
Yep, 90 days.
So me and Curt are okay to stay here for 90 days, but they'll only give the van 30 days at a time. And we are coming up on the end of that 30 days, so it is time to go to the aduana, which is where you deal with vehicle stuff here and border stuff for your van, to get a renewal for our temporary import permit. So it's pretty important, because you do not want to let that thing expire, because then they can take your van. First stop is we have to get 30 more days of insurance for our van here in Panama, and then we will head to the aduana. Well, now, which is not to be shocking, Google Maps has us driving in circles.
Yeah, well, the place we couldn't find it. It wasn't there, so I don't know if it's a COVID thing or what, but it's not uncommon to find businesses that are just closed or no longer there or whatever. Normally it's camp spots, but today it's insurance companies.
But the map shows like 10 within a few miles, so maybe one will be open. Curt has been inside this insurance office for like 10 minutes, so I'm taking that as a good sign. Guys, G is pretty curious about what's going on today. We have successfully gotten our insurance that we need for the vehicle here in Panama. Then we had to drive a few miles away to the aduana. Curt has gone in, and this process is supposed to be pretty easy. So fingers crossed. We're almost done with this task, which is a very important one, but not a fun one. So Curt, G wants to know, how'd it go?
Well, it took longer to get the insurance than it took to get the extension for the tip. The insurance was $25 for 30 days, and there was no cost to the additional 90 days. I gave them the paperwork. They went in another room, and I guess about 15 minutes later they came back, and so we're good to go.
So we got another 30 days.
Another 30 days.
All right.
All right, just in a little update. We left David and headed to Santiago, about a 2.5 drive, kind of a large city on the Panam Highway. And our plan was to stay there for tonight and then get up and go to Campital in the morning, our final destination, another about 3-hour drive. But we got here and we started thinking some places in Panama literally closed down for the weekend. And so Snow got on the Google and started searching around, and it turns out 3 counties on the way to where we're headed where we would go tomorrow, are totally closed for the entire weekend, meaning we would be stuck here in Santiago for the whole weekend. Now, the camp spot we had picked out was not bad, not great, not even going to show it to you, but we decided definitely not a place we wanted to spend the weekend. So, we're knuckling up, snow's driving, we're going to head on to our next spot.
All right, so Curt had mentioned that the counties are closed. Down here they call them districts. There's states and then there's districts. It's kind of like a county back in the States. I don't think he told you why they're closed. COVID. Some of the counties have a curfew from 8 o'clock Saturday night to 8 o'clock Monday morning, and there is no movement. So we either get through them or get stuck in them, and our goal, get through them.
All right, we have about, three and a half hours of driving under our belt today, and finally, we get to some interesting scenery. Show you guys a little bit, but we're actually kind of on a little windy road coming through some small towns now, and starting to see a little mountains and some trees, and I don't know, what we can kind of consider some beautiful rural area. So,
and we're getting closer to the beach.
We're getting closer to the beach. We still have an hour and a half to drive.
It's going to be a long drive.
Probably 2 more hours. So, but we're going to keep plugging at it. So one thing that we've noticed in Panama is the vaccines are available all across Panama. They have little booths they set up at schools and these little towns, and all of a sudden you're driving through and there's kind of a little bit of line of people, and you kind of wonder what's going on, and they're giving out the vaccine, and so that's always good to see. I think pretty much anybody who wants it in Panama can get it fairly easily. So as we head down to the coast on this peninsula, we found ourselves climbing the steep mountain and back in the clouds, back in the rain. Had no idea we'd have this kind of elevation here. I did know there was a mountain range down in this peninsula. But here's a little piece of did you know. This, where we're headed, is the southernmost point of North America.
It was a long day of driving with a couple of hiccups along the way, but we made it to a beautiful beach for camping. Curt put up the drone, so you're gonna see that right now. And then after you take a look at where we're camping for the next couple of days, we're gonna come back and we're gonna cook some dinner.
It was a long drive today. It was a really long day. We're both exhausted. But we kind of got out to this beach. We didn't make it to where the whales are. We made it to another beach, and this place is beautiful. And I can't help myself. I gotta walk around and check it out. There's a small strip here of little restaurants and things like that. So there's a bunch of music going on. And I just gotta walk down and just check it out. I don't know how much there'll be to see down here. I think I'm gonna do a hike in the morning. But I've got my camera just in case so I can bring you along.
Curt is out for a walk. So I am the chef tonight. Don't be too afraid. It'll be okay. We're going with an Oriental type thing. So let me show you what we've got. So I pre-cut up all the vegetables. And in here, we've got onions, carrots, zucchinis, red peppers, green peppers, some fresh ginger. And then over here, I have diced up some already cooked up chicken breast and minced us a little garlic. So we're gonna start by sauteing that up. So let's get going. All right, our Oriental vegetable stir fry is underway. I pre-cooked some pasta. It's a little bit for me, a lot more for Curt. Once this gets a little bit more done, I'm gonna throw in a handful of diced up and sliced up cabbage, maybe add a little bit more teriyaki, and then put it over the pasta, and dinner will be served. So Curt just came back, and
Bar.
he brought food from the restaurant down the road. Guys, where we're at, there is 0 cell service, so he couldn't message me. I cannot be upset because for me to cook a dinner is extremely rare.
Whole fried fish, $7. Pollo, chicken, $4. $11. I just was like, it's so cheap. I gotta bring food back.
Hold on. Fresh pasta, zucchini, carrots, diced ginger, diced garlic.
Smells delicious. I opened the door. It looks good.
So, but mine will go in a little container and we can heat it up in a skillet for lunch tomorrow.
All right.
All right, guys, we've showed you this beach when the sun was starting to set. We cooked a yummy supper. We are about to hit the bed, go to sleep. But tomorrow, we're gonna show you this beach a little bit more up close and personal. I think, if the weather's right, Curt has a hike planned.